Oh shoot, it's a dirty rat.
More power, yes.
Go on ahead, Meeper. So, today we're going to be exploring the rat-infested slums of Lord Skrolk. Skrolk is he's the leader of Clan Pestilence, one of the 5 big clans for the Skaven, and really personifies Skaven corruption and how fucking nasty they can be. So I hope you guys will enjoy this deep dive into his mechanics. He doesn't buff up as much as other lords, but plague monks are never cheaper than when they are under Lord Skrolk. Plus using the lore of the Skaven plagues is no better under nobody else but Skrolk as well. So if you like this guide, remember to chuck a like, maybe a comment down below, and maybe chuck me a sub, and I'll continue to make these guides. And I am going to be branching out into other games. I just launched my Gladius guide, and I'm going to be working on a few more guides and reviews and some big videos in the coming week, because I'm going to be taking a hiatus. I know it's kind of not that good of a time with the views dropping during fall, but I gotta take a little bit of a breather, decompress, work on some good videos, and just try to get back on track. So anyway, let's get right into the guide on Lord Skrolk, the Lord of Decay.
The Liber Bubonicus predicts this.
I told you he was ugly, didn't I? Skrolk is he's the leader of Clan Pestilence. So he personifies all that is ugly with the Skaven and why they are a plague. Like you look at some of these other Skaven lords, like Ikik and Tretch and even Queek. They don't look too bad. They're not that too decayed, But Skrolk and Throt are definitely the biggest personifications of Skaven corruption. But anywho, let's dive into his faction effects. He has a 100% chance of plague spreading, so he is like the big plague spreader. So if you want to cause plagues, and the plagues also bolster your forces and nurture your settlements. So for him, plagues are good. So he spreads them, and it causes damage to the enemies and bolsters him up. So it's really good to master your plagues as Skrolk. And he's really good at whittling down the enemy forces, and it's kind of like Nurgle, but the Skaven plagues are a little different. They have different effects, and they do a little different with damage and with cinnamon effects as well. He has construction costs. He is halved for his Pox Cauldron, Pestilent Nave, and Plague Bailey buildings, which are, pretty much all of them are for helping his plague spreads. His right cooldown for the Pestilent Scheme is 15 turns. Minus 15 turns, and then his lord effects, his upkeep is halved for all plague monk units, and plague called catapults, and plague priest units. So again, plague, the Skaven plague is his playstyle, and he starts with a couple plague monks, which are pretty good. For a tier 2 unit, they're decent. They have frenzy, they have some physical resist, which is really good for Skaven. Especially against lizardmen. It helps even the playing field. He has a couple plague claw catapults, and then a bunch of clan rats and some Skaven slaves. But other than that, it's a pretty normal starting army. Let's jump right into his campaign now.
The age of man things, or elf thing, or reptile things is over, dead. Now is the time of the rat.
Yes. Sorry, channel my inner Skaven there. Anyway, just like the other Skaven factions, he has to collect food. Has to deal with Skaven corruption, You know, they have the same technologies. He doesn't have much different to him because he's one of the base, base Warhammer 2 Skaven Lords. So, like, if you buy base Warhammer 2, you'll be able to get him in Queek. There's other ones that are free to the base, but I pretty much count them into it. But he is one of the base game ones, so he's kind of tailored towards the base game. So he doesn't have that much differing, but he does have a very different playstyle compared to Queek. Because Queek buffs up Storm Vermin and all that. Skrolk does the opposite. He buffs up Plague Monks, which are the opposite to Storm Vermin. They have no armor. They rely entirely on physical resist and high damage to maintain a fight. So he starts with a decent army if you attach that Plague Priest in there, which I usually do, because he buffs up Plague Priest too. Puts it up to a 12 stack, which is pretty good for start. And then he does start with 2 settlements now. Starts with let's see, where's the other one at? Oh, up here. Okay. He has this one here in the corner, and it has Oxyotl here. I usually buff up that one first, and then either get the food resource, which is really good, or a clan pit, which I don't really see the use of the clan pit, because Skaven slaves are just as good. They still haven't really buffed up the clan rats that much since Warhammer 2, which was a big problem in Warhammer 2, where the clan rats were just not as buffed up as much as Skaven slaves, where they, Skaven slaves were still did well because you could just use them as trash units because they perform the same job and one's more expensive. They just are supposed to distract the enemy while your good units destroy them. Alright, so anywho, so when you start with Skrolk, of course, take this army out first. Usually eat them to get some replenishment. And then you attack Sentinel Time to complete your province. It's interesting that you start with 2 as Skrolk. And also, one thing that the Skaven can do is they can use food to increase the settlement level. And I usually do that just to do up to there. And we'll loot and occupy and have it at tier 2. That's already good. A tier 2 settlement. Yeah, I'll build a clan barracks there, and then I usually do one of these to get the growth. I think one of them gets money, one gets growth. But this one also gets growth. So I instead will do that. Skaven, you're going to want to invest in garrison buildings just because your garrison sucks, so you need to swarm them. The more units you have, the better your garrison is going to be. For the 2, well, right now I have 2. I usually will do Pestilent Breath. It's good to unlock his magic tree, which he's really good at. I'll either do Root Marcher or Tail Weapon. I'm going to do Root Marcher. Going to be moving around a lot because you're in the heart of Lustria. And then of course we're going to give him Pestilent Breath again. Want to unlock as many for the Plague Priest. You're going to want to unlock as many spells as possible for any spell character, really. You're going to want to unlock the cool spells. For the first commandment, I usually do Exploitive Planning. Gives you more food, even though it increases the corruption. And if you're not losing food, which I think it's just colonization, then you'll be good. So I'm not losing food. I'm going to go to Expansionist Planning, which is not going to increase corruption, and is going to give me more growth to build up the settlement. Skaven are pretty good at growth. That's one thing they do really well. And of course, we could do clan rats, but I usually, get Skaven slaves because they also have the expendable trait, which means good units won't rout when the Skaven slaves rout. So that's cool. And then of course we have the Southern Sentinels to still attack. We still can attack these 2 guys down here. So your plan of attack would be to go down here. These Nurgle guys are not going to stay around much longer because it says right here, and Gorok smashes them to bits. I know because I play him a lot. So you're not going to want to rely on these Nurgle guys to keep Gorok at bay. as for, I pretty much showed you what the first turns you should make. Oh well, after this produces, I'll destroy this, and then put down either the resource, the landmark, which is really good as well and provides a plague monk sensor bearer garrison, or get started building one of the advanced buildings, like the breeding stock, the weapons dump, or the hid layer. So you can get better units. And then Skaven Corruption, you're just going to want to keep an eye on. As it advances, you're going to get public order issues. For his schemes, he has the Pestilence scheme, which gives a unique plague priest hero capable of spreading a deadly plague to a foreign settlement. So this is really good to keep your plagues going. I usually do that, or the Dominating scheme. And then, of course, technology. Once we unlock it, I'll usually do Devious plans or Ferocious plans. Ruthless plans, if I can, would be good, and then it gives you more growth. But gonna want to focus on the little guys, the Skaven slaves. So like all these techs right here are going to be good in the beginning, because you're not going to have access to sensor bearers or even really plague monks for a while. I think you gotta wait to tier 3 to get them. Now you're going to get to tier 3 about the time that tier 2 is going around for everyone else. So it still isn't that terrible because you're going to be advancing that fast. But you're going to want to focus on your growth to get there. As for diplomacy, you got a couple Skaven clans here, like Clan Spittle right here, can help become a buffer state. You do have the Spine of Sotek dwarves, which are going to hate you. So you just got a lot of enemies down here. There's Tehenowin, there's Clan Skrat down here that Tehenowin's fighting. They won't last long. But you could have Clan Spittle be a buffer state up there to keep the Imperials from getting around, but again, I don't really rely on them sticking around, just because again they're another one that's easy to be destroyed by the lizards. So Gorok in the north and Tehenowin in the south are going to be your biggest enemies to deal with. You do have Katep over here, and then of course the Spine of Sotek dwarves are going to be in a hassle if you let them go for too long. And then there's Lustria is the Thunderdome, so you're in the south corner of Lustria and you're going to be dealing with these guys down here. But as you go north, you're going to be dealing with like all the other factions from Lustria, like Hunt Marshal, the Bretonian guy, Luther Harkon, all of them. They're going to be right up there. So you're going to want to make sure you get your sensor bearers as soon as possible and all your plague stuff. But anywho, that's campaign stuff. Let's get into some army compositions. So here we are with a tier 1. Now for Lord Skrolk, I know what you're thinking, Colonel. Why didn't we go through the campaign? Well, because Skrolk doesn't really buff up his troops with individual buffs like to their stats. He more just buffs up the recruitment. Recruitment level and all that, which does buff their stats, and he's more for buffing up his plague priests with their recruitment, so you can spawn a lot of plague priests into his army to really plague out the enemy. But he doesn't really buff up his troops that much to really warrant seeing him on the campaign map. Even though his playstyle, well, his campaign journey can vary from person to person. I can show you how he goes up against most of his forces. Now, for tier 1, I chose Beastmen because there are a lot of Beastmen roaming hordes around there that might pop up and attack you. So I think that's the perfect first target for the Skaven, because going up against Lizardmen and going up against a full stack for dwarves is going to be tough. But as he gets into tier 2 and tier 3, he has stuff to counter that. But tier 1, he's going to suffer. So that's why I picked the Beastmen for the first test. So what we have here is a bunch of Skaven slaves, a couple clan rats that we were given. Try to maintain true to the original army composition, and then We got some plague monks back here, which are going to help out a lot. These are seen as our specialist troops, so we'll keep them in the back. We have 2 plague claw catapults that he starts with, and then I've done away with the Skaven slave slingers, and I've pretty much fully gone to night runners, which are they're really good for a tier 1 unit, but they're still not great. And then of course we have Skrolk himself, looking all nice and pestilency, and then his plague priest as well. So that's what we're rocking with for our tier 1, and then let's go up against our beastman foe. All right.
Great, yes. Now, no. Squeak, squeak. Fight, fight. Slick step. Die, die, die. Now, ready, now. For the vermin side. Them, die, die. Save and slaves. Now, yes.
Alright, let's use what we can. Pestilent Breath will come in handy against the enemy hordes. Let's have the Plague Claws go up against these other ones. Pestilent Breath, let's cause that as well. See if we can't help out some more of our clan rats. Get him over here.
Horned rat's blessing. Hasten, hurry! Stop moving! Our tail's yours!
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen.
We serve! Back underground! What? We move!
Our Skaven slaves are falling back. Again, I knew that was going to happen. Bump them up with poison. Come on, Skaven slaves. Try to stay in the fight just a little bit. Like, come on, man. Pretty much killed our plague monks. I mean, our plague claw catapults. Because they're going to reach them. And I knew that was going to happen, too. Let's do Vermintide. Help them out.
Guide us, Horned One. Skaven slaves! Advance retreat! What? Our tail's yours! Hasten, hurry!
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. See, that's the downside of having Skaven slaves is they're gonna retreat at the first sign they can. All Skaven do that. But they're so cheap that you can have 2 armies of them. But in a full-out fight like this, they might be too weak. And I do think CA did do some changes to them that makes them a little weaker too.
Night runners! Yes, Lord! Guide us, Horned One! Council's command! Him, die! Quick! Retreat! For the vermin tide!
Oh my god. Our plague monks are dying.
Retreat!
Where's these plague monks at? Damn, they're doing like nothing. Yeah. Yeah, that's the downside of it. But we are winning overall. Yeah, that'll help. A nice little verminous breath will help. Get some extra kills. Maybe even cause some to rout. Let's get him killed. Yeah, you're gonna have to stop. But they come back. That's the thing. They come back, and even though it causes a whole bunch of disruptions, they do come back. Oh, they're in melee. Why are they in melee? Get out of melee. Oh, they're in melee because they don't have any ammunition. Okay. Alright, we won this thing. That's the thing with saving slaves, you gotta keep recycling them, but they do come back, and they do a little bit more damage. So they didn't take that much damage, they just, they retreated, because their morale is terribly low. But even against the beastmen, this strat works pretty well. But against, if this were, say, against the dwarves, or hell, even the Empire, would not have worked as well. And it didn't even work that well for us. Because, we pretty much just relied on our Night Runners and our Plague Monk Sensor Bearers, or our Plague Monks, to do the damage, The thing is, with the Skaven, with their Scary Away ability, it does allow them to get most of their units out of combat whenever they start to waver. That way they can retreat. So if you start wavering, what I should have done was I should have pulled them out, because then they can escape, get their morale back up, and then they're back into the fight. So that's really the ace in the hole for the Skaven. We only lost one unit, which was the Plague Claws. Oh, okay. So they're back. Like I said, we'll have better units in the next one. It'll do a lot more damage. And also this spell right here, Blessed with Filth, is really good as well because it causes poison damage. So it does a little extra damage to them. So there we go, that did it. So like I said, it shows that Skaven Slaves still aren't as good against like a full force. But if you're taking two armies, like say if this was stacked with another army, you'd be able to overwhelm anything, because they have more entities than I think they do clan rats. Yeah, they have more entities than clan rats, even though they don't have as good stats. But in a one-on-one fight here, would have been better to bring clan rats, even though they would still scurry away at relatively the same time. Especially, well, actually, they get a nice morale buff, but that morale buff is still not as great. 42 is still not as great of morale, so they still would retreat. One or two of them would break, especially when the beastmen have their feral charge. But still did pretty well. Still did decent. Only lost one unit. Most of them took a little damage. Let's see what we got. Yeah, Pyrrhic. That's what I guessed. But that's Skaven for you. So, that was a tier 1. Let's go right on into a tier 2. Alright, here we are with a tier 2. Now this tier is a lot more juicy and spicy. So as you see, we have a lot of poison in our army, a lot of plague. So we've switched out and have a full roster of plague monks. Plague monks are just all around better, especially with Skrolk because he's able to reduce their upkeep in half. So they're able to just, he's able to field more of them, and they with their buff to physical resist, even though it's only 15, it's still really good, and they still have they have a really good weapon damage with a bonus for his infantry. So they're all around good. They're not the greatest, but they are good for a Skaven unit. And then in the front we have Death Gutter Runners. Gutter Runners are the next tier up. They usually come around the tier 3. I think it's it's the second from the tier 2, which is the first one you get in the campaign. Because after like so many turns, you'll have a tier 3 settlement, and even though they're technically in the tier 3 building, like the building is tier 3 for the missiles, they still count them as a tier 2, and because you can get to that building pretty early, that's why I added them in here. These ones are the poison variant. I always go for poison variant just because against heavily armored targets, they just slow down the enemy because the poison effect reduces the enemy's armor-piercing damage and speed, and it makes them weaker against us. So that's always good. So we have 5 of these guys in the front. They're going to do a lot of damage. They also have a physical resist buff as well of 20, as well as their net ability too, and they can fire while moving. So they're really, really good. Over here we have the heavy hitters, the Poison Wind Globadiers. These guys become available in the tier 2 or 3. I think it's 2 or 3. I'm not sure exactly which one, but it's the weapon shop. And again, because you can reach tier 3 pretty fast as Skaven, that's why I added them. And they're really good. They have high armor for a Skaven unit, which is kind of wild. And then they have magical ammunition, as well as this poisoned wind attack, as well as armor-piercing missile strength. And they're really, really good. So I use them as like a clutch unit to help us win some of those clutch battles against like dwarves, like what we're going up against right now. And then we have 4 plague claw catapults. We've doubled up since the ones we started. And then we've picked up a second plague priest, put him on a what is this called again? I always forget what this is, but this like whirling ball mount. It's really good. And then of course we have Skrolk again. He has his Rod of Corruption. He's gained that now, and he's also got the Pestilent Birth, which is his summon for extra plague monks. Alright, so now we're going to start this battle against the dwarves. Let's get into it. Alright, first thing we're going to do, we're going to target these dwarven missile troops with our plague claws. I'm going to send these guys up, try to do some damage against them as well. And then the poison winds will come up the sides, with the plague monks going up the middle. And of course, he's going to move up as well. Well, yeah, there we go. That's doing a lot of damage. Alright, we're gonna have all of our heroes go for the Dwarven Lord. Poison Winds are gonna go kind of just support. Just kind of support as much as they can. The Poison Winds are going to help a lot, especially against these armored targets. Yeah. Oof, Jesus. Don't want to hit those guys. Come on. Focus on the Focus on the ranged units. Their grudge throwers are going to do some damage if we don't stop them. Did we get the Lord? I don't know if we got the Lord or not. But let's get our Vortex on. Plague Vortex. Yeah, that Plague's going to do well. Yeah, there we go. Plague monks are doing okay. Not great against the dwarves because they don't have a lot of armor piercing. So they're not going to do insanely great. Plus we also did, our plague claws started hitting our people. Alright, move into position and attack their catapults because, you know, we can't be having our troops be attacked this much. See what I mean? That's why we can't have them being attacked by our own artillery that much. That's the downside for plague claws, is that their artillery just can shred our own units. But we're still doing really good against the dwarves. Better than we would be doing if we didn't bring the plague claws and all these other, you know, weapon teams. Yeah, look at that. This is why I bring the poison wind. They just are so good. They are so good once you unlock them. They are so good. They are worth the insane cost to just bring a couple of them. Because if you can get those poison winds off, they're going to cause a whole heap of trouble for the enemy. And there we go. There we go. We took them out. That was a lot simpler than the first one. And we were facing a tougher enemy. Even though these were mostly tier 1 dwarf units, they're still really insane compared to our units. Even we did see a couple tier 2s. Where are those longbeards? There they are. And they shattered just as easily. So, yeah, we had some tier 2s as well. So, that was our lovely showcase for that. Always remember to turn off your plague claw catapults because they're going to cause a lot of damage to your army, and to keep them attacking far away from your army. Because again, could cause a whole heap of damage that you don't want to have. Poison winds not as much because, you know, I don't think this actually damages your units, but it could. I don't know for sure, but you know, definitely does a lot of damage to the enemy. Anywho, that was a tier 2, so now we're going to wrap this up and show you a tier 3 against our hated foe, the lizardmen. Alright, and here we are at a tier 3. So for the tier 3, a lot of spicy goodness is going on. So up in the front, we have our Plague Monk Censer Bearers finally. These guys with their big old flails are really good. They demoralize people. They do magical attacks, armor piercing, very high armor piercing, frenzy. The physical resist is still only 15%, but they can get this buffed up, I believe, in their red tree to get the more physical resist. But again, that's a red tree, so everyone can get that buff. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm not putting it on the campaign map. And then we also have the Regiment Renown version, which adds immune psychology, or no, rabble rouse to them, which affects everyone else and gives them immune to psychology, which is really good. And then of course we have in the back we have poison wind mortars. Now you could use these or more death globe bombardiers, but because I have the DLC for the Deathmaster, poison wind mortars 100 times better, because even though the missile strength is only up by a little bit, the range is up by insanely, so they can actually support the army from a farther distance and do a lot more damage. They do have a decent amount of ammunition, only 1 point less, and it's still magical. So I usually bring these guys. If you don't have the DLC, you can do the Death Globe Bombardiers, which are just as good. if not a little better, but they do lack from they have lack of range, and they do have more ammunition and more armor-piercing missile damage though. But they don't have the whole effect that these guys have for the poisoned wind. So that effect, losing that effect, can cause them to lose some DPS compared to the poisoned wind mortars. So again, that's why I do keep a couple of them if I can on the sides, again, just to you know, weaken the enemy a little bit. And then in the back, I have some I have some warp lightning cannons. Just, you know, a mainstay for Skaven. You know, it's not anything special, but you know, it's going to do the job. Then I have a Hell Pit Abomination. Again, pretty standard for the Skaven, and Skrolk benefits from having this guy as well. I have the Regiment of Renown version here, and then we of course have our plague priests and our and Skrolk himself. He's got his Liber Bubonicus as well. Both direct damage spells, one against a unit and one against a character. So he could be really good against enemy characters and some high tier units as well. So we're going up against the Lijman army that's packed some. They have packed a lot of Saurus, and they have some high armored Temple Guard and some big monsters as well that we're going to deal with. So let's get right into the battle now, shall we? All right. So I placed us all under the same group, so we're going to march slowly towards them. So there's the Temple Guards right there. They're going to do their best to take us out. All right. Let's send the Sensor Bearers in against the Saurus.
We serve. Skaven, yes, yes.
And the Skinks.
Guide us, horned one. What?
Alright. Let's have these guys open fire.
Poison, kill. Crush. Seven blades, yes. Die, die, die.
Where's a monster? I think they had a Carnosaur. No, I'll take that Feral Bastiladon. Let's take the Bastiladon as well. Oh, no, the Carnosaur. Kill him. Carnosaur. Alright. We're gonna have to do some vortexes. And maybe pestilent breath. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, these plague mortars do a whole lot more than you know. There we go, we're taking them out. Oh, they're attacking our Globadiers. Come on, take them out. There we go. Take these guys out. Where are these guys at? Okay, let's get them. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Okay, they're doing really well. Yeah, they're doing really well. But one of our Plague Monk Sensor Bears did go. Let's cause... Come on, let's... Oh, okay, so that's just a... Alright, and then this one's against the character. Okay, go against that. So he has to be thick in the fight to cause the damage to these guys. Okay. Pestilent Breath on the Saurus. And there we go. And that was even quicker because we were just able to do so much damage to them. See those poison wind mortars do so much. They are a mainstay for my Skaven armies in the late game because they do so much damage. Hey, look at that. Look at that. This one doesn't have the effect, but because it's a death wind motor, pretty much, it does so much damage, raw damage, that it's just able to. It's not even fair. Not even fair. And the warp lightning cannons could be really good at dealing with large targets, like these beasts. They did them really dirty. So yeah, we did them in. We did them in really well this time. And you see how insane Skrolk can get with his plague monks. Again, he doesn't buff them up as much, but he does have a nice use for them, combined with the plagues and with his special abilities. He's able to do so much damage to the enemy and pretty much lead his censer bearers from the front. And they took almost no casualties. They killed so many lizards. Alrighty, so that does it with a tier 3. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's wrap this up, and I'll see you at the title screen.
The vengeance of Clan Pestilence.
Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this guide on Lord Skrolk, the big old pestilent guy. He, again, he doesn't buff up his own units as much as other lords, but he does buff up his faction, and he buffs up himself quite a bit, as well as his priests, his plague priests. So he's able to do a whole lot of damage with that. His plague spells can do a lot of like poison damage and damage over time. So he does do a lot of things like that. And you know, that's what makes him so awesome. He still is not the best Skaven Lord. I will get to him in later videos, but he is by far not the worst Lord in the game, and he's, you know, he can be a force to contend with, even as Gorok, who is arguably one of the best Lizardman Lords. Lord Skrolk can still give him a run for his money. So I hope you guys enjoyed this guide. Remember to drop a like down below, maybe leave me a comment, maybe sub to the channel if you like what you see. And as always, remember to keep it strategic, Strat fans. Colonel out.